everybody. I thought I would just do kind of a mid-training block review. Just talk about how things are going, how I'm feeling, what's coming up next, and all sorts of things that hopefully will give you some kind of indication about what's going on for me in this marathon training block. So first of all, how does it differ from my first marathon training block? Well, that plan was kind of an amalgamation of a few different plans that I found online. I took some advice from individuals on YouTube, and I just kind of put together something that seemed to be correct for me. Obviously, I was coming from a place of having no experience whatsoever, so everything I looked at was new. Every workout to me seemed like it was going to be something that would be beneficial, and I never thought to question any of it. So I just took it more or less as read. I followed it more or less to the letter. I don't think there was a day that I dropped a training session, perhaps the odd one or two, but ultimately I followed it as it prescribed, and the results of which meant that I could achieve completing my first marathon. So if I was to reflect on that, I would say it served its purpose, it did its job, and I was able to do what I set out to do. However, I didn't ever feel like I was absolutely certain about my pacing. I had a good indication, but I was never really comfortable with being able to pace consistently. And that therefore meant that when I was doing any sort of runs, even those 20 milers, I was kind of doing it as best I could based on feel. I tried to use the watch. It just never felt quite right. I knew there was room to improve, and I'm very reflective about that. I knew that I needed to build strength and stamina. I knew that I needed to work on my pacing, and I knew that I needed to become more comfortable as a runner and know what kind of makes my body tick, if you like, and what I needed to do to ensure I get the best out of myself. So this particular marathon training plan, I don't know if I mentioned it before, so it comes from Ben Parks. You are probably familiar with his channel, and it just kind of, it really rang true when I looked through some of the materials. I started to see how it could really have a significant impact on my running. So what I like about it is it's a plan that I can potentially roll out again in the future, adjusting my target time and therefore adjusting my paces accordingly, which is why what I've mentioned before in some of my runs, okay, here's my window I want to run within. If I can start to shift to running a quicker time within those windows, it means that I allow myself the opportunity to try and run for a faster time. That doesn't mean I'm suddenly going to go out and go for a 3:30. That's not what I'm planning to do at all. In fact, completing marathon number 2 would be an absolute win, in my opinion. Running it faster, even by a second, is progress. It's a different course, it's different terrain, it's a different time of year, everything is different. But that aside, the training plan itself has allowed me to explore hills, intervals, tempo work, fartlek work, some strength training. There's no specific outline for strength training, although Ben does have some videos on his channel which I've used to give me some thoughts about what works for me. You'll be familiar with the fact that I do yoga. I used to go down to the gym once a week in the lead up to my first marathon and do more work on the machines there. However, with my current training plan, because I'm doing more runs, I'm feeling more fatigued, and I'm choosing not to do as strenuous of a workout down at the gym. So I will still go down there. I don't often film it, but I'm not doing it with the same level of intensity as I did before. That may be a fault. I'm still doing strength training. I still commit an hour to it, and that's made up of yoga, that's made up of various moves, which I will film in the future, but it's not as, I don't want to say structured, because actually it was quite unstructured what I was doing before. I had a set bank of routines I would do, a set bank of machines. I'd go down there, do that, and come home. It was never really done with anything other than the love of those particular machines and the feeling that it was making a big difference. However, also at those times, I wasn't running up hills, I wasn't taking any elevation, so what I've decided to do instead now is focus more on those hills, take on more elevation, and I feel that is more of a benefit to me than to spend 10 minutes, let's say, on the step machine covering the same elevation. So the marathon plan itself, I think, is just fantastic. I'm loving it. It's a good balance for me. I'm feeling challenged by it. I'm feeling that there is an intensity there. Things are starting to level up. Last week was probably my biggest mileage week I'd ever completed in running. I'm starting to feel it obviously slightly today because it's also the first weekend that I did 2 workouts of significance. And so I'm experiencing so much for the first time that it's still very novel to me, and I'm giving it my all. I'm putting everything into this so that I can really enjoy my second marathon experience. I'm actually really enjoying running a whole lot more than I was before, because I think before I still was carrying that anxiety of wanting to finish and the pressure on my shoulders, and I was running to raise money for a charity. And I think it's very, very hard to get away from that feeling. Whereas now I'm running for the enjoyment, running for the love of it. I'm switching a few things out on a marathon training plan to accommodate races, which again, I think taking part in races is a bit of a skill in itself. And so the more time I can spend at races in those conditions, the more you can eliminate those external pressures of maybe feeling nervous, feeling anxious, not being sure about your body. What can I do? What am I capable of? Well, I've been successful in my races that I've done recently. The pacing side of things, I'm getting so much better at. You know, I can look down at my watch and I can see a split, and I can think to myself, okay, you're running now within your tempo range, slow down. You're running now within that kind of 5K pace, that's far too fast. Look, you're running at the slower end of the easy pace, you need to step up your game slightly. So that gives me, again, another level of confidence. All in all, I'm elated. I think it's going really well. I feel great on it. I'm adjusting my nutrition accordingly. I'm eating far better. I'm eating foods that fuel me, as well as obviously satisfy me. But I'm kind of focusing more on what is really working for me as I want to call myself an athlete, I suppose, what's working for me as an athlete. And yeah, so all in all, I'm really pleased. I think it's going really well. I think it's a good plan. Obviously, until we get to the day of the race, until I actually complete the second marathon, I can't reflect fully. But given that we are now at the beginning of week 9, I think I'm in a good place to turn around and say, this is working for me. This is doing me the world of good. And like I say, the most important thing is I'm actually loving it. I'm really having a good time. I'm getting a lot out of it. I'm feeling like I'm more accomplished. I'm feeling like I'm more knowledgeable. I've got a better understanding of my body and a better understanding of what the workouts mean, what they relate to, how they impact on a run, the importance of an easy run or an easy paced run against a tempo paced run, against a marathon paced run. Yeah, so I'm really starting now to just fine tune everything. I'm starting to look at my plans. I start to kind of work out what the week looks like. And then again, think about nutrition, think about nice work-life balance. I've got a job, I'm full-time in my work, so I've got to try and work out the routes ahead of time so that when I come home, what I can do, go straight out. In terms of the equipment I'm using, in terms of the shoes, the clothing, I feel incredibly comfortable with what I've got there. Still trying to just get a firm decision on the socks. The socks is a tricky one. The twin skin socks, the Hilly twin skin socks are fantastic. I'm just nervous that they're too warm, and they're going to be too warm mid-August. Stance at the moment are my second favourite. I've done some good runs in those, but again, the different models offer different things for your feet, and it's just, the only thing that I have any sort of apprehension about are the socks. But I've tried a few different ones. Compressed Sport as well. Basically, I've got a host of different socks. I've tried them all. They've all got something about them which draws me back, but it's just trying to focus on that one sock that's going to see me through my marathon mid-August. Anyway, like I said, I hope there's some value to it. I'll put a link down below to Ben's website, and you can check out the training plans there if you so wish.